Hi, Alan.
恭敬大德圣经，为此法会及一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Son God with great virtue out of compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, return the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and birth and death, and quickly realize numbers.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi sammyao samputoshye.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi sammyao samputoshye.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛。My name is Heng Sure, Venerable Master, Dharma friends. Welcome to our Sutra lecture tonight here at, where are we? We're the official location of the lecture is City of 10,000 Buddhas. However, we are taking advantage of the wonderful reality of the internet to triangulate. And here is, we can use this as our backdrop today. So I am here in Queensland, Australia. It is Monday, July 18th at noon. And City of 10,000 Buddhas is, 你们听不到声音哈，希望你们都可以听到。In California, it is the 17th of July, and it is 观音菩萨成道日. It's the day that Guanyin Bodhisattva realized the way, and it's the first day of our Guanyin session. 我们就利用这个高科技的很有帮助弘扬佛法的一点是什么呢？就是我叫恒实我在澳大利亚，我在 Queensland 那么今天是星期一。这是7月份，7月18，在加州，在万福城是星期天晚上7点半，17号不是18号，我们就用这个网络可以绕个地球了，就大家一起庆祝今天观世音菩萨成道日，今天也是万福圣城的这个一个观音期第一天。我们还有一点还要做。We have one matter of protocol that we would like to do, which is we would like to acknowledge country. Acknowledging country is something that we do here in Australia, that when I return to California, I am certainly going to continue, which is to say that our generation, these people, particularly white-skinned people, came later and came to a place where a culture and a civilization was well established and was working hard with their own wisdom, with their own traditions and their own culture. And after the white people came, that traditional culture stopped. So it's important to acknowledge country. And we say, the Kombumerri people of the Ugambe language group practice their spiritual connections to land, to living beings, and to all creation here in this location for tens of thousands of years. Today we acknowledge them as the traditional custodians of this land. We acknowledge them with gratitude as we share the land, with sorrow for the cost of sharing, and with hope that we can move to a place of justice and partnership together. We acknowledge their wisdom and their elders, past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge all First Nations peoples whose sovereignty was never ceded. 就是说，在 Australia 这里，他们几十年前开始一个非常重要、非常有意义的传统，是什么呢？就是大家聚会在一堂，我们先要认识、要承认、要尊敬古来的原住民，他们的智慧、他们的传统、他们的文化，因为后来的人，就包括我们白种人在内，我们把他们这种传统习惯、文化、语文什么的，就把它一概都不尊重甚至于把他们就灭种了。那么现在我们都要承认，智慧是我们要追求的，我们一起分享的智慧，尊重他们原有的智慧。OK， 回来加州一定会继续这个方式。All right. Today is Guanyin Bodhisattva's day for rejoicing, realizing the way. And to begin, we're going to first do something that we don't get a chance to do often enough at City of 10,000 Buddhas, which is praise Guanyin in English. So I'm going to ask everybody, if you can see me, I'd like you to all pick up your 万佛圣城依归我们所谓黄色的可颂本. I'd like you all to pick up your yellow ceremony book. I know you've got one somewhere in your home. Turn to page 175. 175. We are going to praise Guanyin Bodhisattva as they do it at CTTB, but not often enough, let's say. There we go. We'll put that right behind here. Okay, we don't get a chance to do the English often enough, and it's a wonderful praise. 这个是观音赞英文本，你们家里有黄色的可颂本，请你们翻到175。We're going to begin. We're going to encourage everybody to praise Guanyin Bodhisattva in whatever language is convenient for you, but today we're going to do it in English. This praise was written by David Rounds, the late David Rounds, Guozhou, and it really has a wonderful quality of respect and energizing of Guanyin Bodhisattva's presence. So I'm going to invite you to join me, and then when we're done, we're going to recite Namo Guanshi Bodhisattva in English 10 times. And then we'll switch and we'll do Guanyin Pusa, Guanyin Bodhisattva 10 times. Okay? 那我们今天就用英语来称赞观世音菩萨，就因为今天是观世音菩萨成道日，在万佛圣城，也是这个观音期的第一天。那么用英语来称赞观音菩萨观音菩萨会现出32种不同的这个音声，那每一个音声都讲自己不同的语言，所以呢，也这次不妨再唱英文。唱完了赞之后呢，我们就用英语来念观音菩萨的圣号，南无观世音菩提萨埵10声，然后再观音菩提萨埵10声。你们在学习英语的人，你们不妨在那儿练习一下，好吧？ Bodhisattva 观世音 is wonderful past gratitude. Pure and clear are her adornments gained through practice ages long. See vast a red lotus flower, fragrant rest beneath her foot. Bake herb of an autumn moon is in the crescent of her brows. Everywhere and constantly sweet dew sprinkles from her vase. In her hand a willow branch through the countless autumns. Prayers depart 1,000 hearts. In 1,000 hearts she answers, sailing the sea of suffering, crossing people over. Come on, join me, everybody. Namo, greatly kind and compassionate Bodhisattva of the crystal land, who dwells on Potola mountain and observes the sounds of the world. 再来。Namo, greatly kind and compassionate Bodhisattva of the crystal land, who dwells on Potola mountain and observes the sounds of the world. One more time. Namo, greatly kind and compassionate Bodhisattva of the crystal land, who dwells on Potola mountain and observes the sounds of the world. Namo Guanshi Yin Bodhisattva.大家跟着念哈。Namo观世音菩萨，Namo观世音菩萨，Namo观世音菩萨，Namo观世音菩萨，Namo观世音菩萨。观音菩萨，观音菩萨，观音菩萨，观音菩萨，观音菩萨，观音菩萨，观音菩萨，观音菩萨，观音菩萨，再来。观音菩萨，观音菩萨，观音菩萨，观音菩萨，观音菩萨，南无 那么大家在念观音菩萨、念普门品拜普门品念大悲咒啊，这个礼拜呢，真的是对这个世界这个利益最大的，就是我们现在需要的这个世界好像充满竞争，那么观音菩萨的大慈悲的力量都会化掉，就会消灭那种那个原业啊，那么众生都可以感觉到清亮慈悲。So by joining in with Guanyin Bodhisattva this week at City of 10,000 Buddhas and joining in online, I hope our volunteers will post online in the chat box and also on YouTube where we can join, where we can take part in the Guanyin session happening at City of 10,000 Buddhas. So that energy of compassion is exactly what's needed right now at this very difficult time for the world, for all of our, not only humans, but all living beings. When we recite Guanyin Bodhisattva's name, when we recite the Universal Door Chapter, the Pumen Pin, the Great Compassion Mantra, when we bow to Guanyin Bodhisattva, this energy of compassion just goes right to the heart of what is troubling the world and wipes away that enmity karma and leaves behind it this clear and cool feeling of 自在, the feeling of being content and full, needing nothing outside. So please do join in. Okay, 那我们现在就改到这个今天晚上这个讲座的题目，就是宣公上人立功立言立德上人的文字遗产第二篇第二集。We're going to continue now to the other topic of our lecture tonight, which is Master Xuanhua's literary legacy. We called it Establishing Merit, Establishing Virtue, and Establishing Words. The incredible legacy that Master Hua left behind in terms of his the poems, the verses, the essays, the couplets, the songs that Master Hua left behind for us as a lighthouse, as a guiding beacon for us to follow as we carry the Buddha Dharma forward into the 21st century. So that's what we have in mind, and I prepared all kinds of goodies for us. People can see my screen, I hope. This is a text that I strongly encourage everybody to investigate. It's called 宣公上人上圣下化老和尚积赞歌咏传集. This is available at buddhisttext.org, and I'm going to show you where that exists out there in the internet. Here it is, and I'll paste that into the chat box as well, and folks can happily pass that on to others. There it is. Okay, look in the chat box. I need to send that to everybody, don't I? Everyone in the meeting. Maybe somebody can kindly put that onto the YouTube chat box as well. Okay, this is a collection done by our bhikshunis and the volunteers who work at the Buddhist Text Translation Society. I have a copy right here. I have borrowed the Gold Coast Dharma Realms copy, and I've actually ordered one from Taiwan myself. I know they have them at City of 10,000 Buddhas, and you can also order them here online. This is a collection of Master Hua's songs, his poems, his verses, his essays, and it really captures, as I mentioned in part one of this lecture series, the incredible breadth and depth of Master Hua. We know him as a Chan master, as a Tripitaka master, as a Vinaya master, as a Pure Land teacher, as an ascetic monk, a mantra master and poet and author, people don't know him that much as a poet. He's less known for that. In fact, there were, while Master Hua was in Hong Kong, there were people who actually considered him illiterate because he didn't talk much. He listened while others spoke Dharma. But it would be a mistake to assume that Shifu's silence means that he's not paying attention, that he doesn't understand what's going on. That's not the case. Not the case. All right. So something that I wanted very much to share with everybody tonight is, I'm going to stop sharing my screen here briefly. There I am. We'll look at the speaker. Okay, there we are. Okay, can you somebody spotlight me as the speaker? That way you can always catch my face as well here. Good. I wanted to mention that not only did Shifu, not only did he have a tremendous literary output, but he also supported other people's work. Shifu was extremely generous as he promoted others' literary output. There we go. Thank you for that. I'm thinking in particular of things like when Shifu was in Hong Kong, he published a magazine called 新法杂志, and it didn't come to many issues. They're rare and special if you can find one. If you go to City of 10,000 Buddhas, to the Shifu's, to the Wuyantang, the Wordless Hall, you can see a copy of Xinfa magazine on display. But Shifu, when he got to America, the first thing he did when Gold Mountain Monastery began was to start Vajrabodhi, Jingangpu Tihai. Vajrabodhi is now in 400 consecutive issues. It may be the longest running bilingual Chinese-English publication in the world now. Unbroken legacy of month after month, Vajrabodhi, Jingangpu Tihai comes forward, carrying not just Shifu's commentaries, but also news from the Dharma realm, and the Bodhi stand, and the Bodhi mirror, and all kinds of wonderful vegetarian recipes, and lots of goodies in Vajrabodhi. That's available. So I'm going to take you out to a website. I'm going to share my screen. There we are. Okay, I hope you all can see. This is the Buddhist Text Translation Society. This is, now for 50 years, we have been translating and publishing Buddhist texts in the West. We have new releases, bestsellers, children's books, sutras, cookbooks. We can listen to Shifu's lectures, his own voice, Zheng Fa Yin, proper Dharma seal. All of these wonderful legacies, the fruition of Shifu's 30 years of lecturing and sutras, letting the Buddha's voice be heard in multiple languages around the world. All of the translations here are now currently, let's see here. If we go here, we've got the rules for translation. Here we go. We've got Spanish, we have Vietnamese, we have French, Italian, Japanese, and there are other translations in Polish, and of course, all of these fundamentally in English as they were explained. So that's Buddhist Text Translation Society. 我好久没有翻译，对不起啊，这是双语的讲座哈。我就说，上人他30年在美国，他在我们都说玄化上人是禅师，也就说是他是一个讲经的这个大法师。那么很多人说是不是提倡 进入法门的，很少有人知道师父是一个文人啊，一种奇才，非常他的师父的文字出产很多很多。我们Buddhist Text Translation Society 所翻译的经书都可以在这个 Let's see, I'm going to go to our 如果大家想自己看到，你就要到 chat box, put it right here, BuddhistTexts.org 你可以看到。可是还有呢，如果大家想用中文来自己阅读上人所讲的经书呢，你们就可以到这个地方来 DRBA Chinese。 你们知道不知道我们的网站有非常非常多的师父所讲的经还有其他的文字的出产。You can also go, if you'd like to read yourself in Chinese, if you can, if you're able, Shifu's output, his commentaries, please go to drbachinese.org, drbachinese, one word, .org, and that will bring you here to this page. And if you click on 线上阅读 right here, you will find a remarkable collection of Shifu's writings and Dharma talks and sutra lectures and his 开示. So much is it's remarkable, the amount of work that has gone into the collecting of Shifu's commentaries. And if you would like to read in simplified characters, you can go to 线上阅读简体字. There's also simplified Chinese of all of these. 我就说，如果大家想阅读上人所讲的经他的师父这个文字都我们这个义工都很用功，把它集中在线上阅读。这是 DRBA Chinese， 有繁体字、正体字，有简体字都有那么大家可以随便你看看多少这是师父的开示师父的签诗师父的其他的这个经书、楞严咒、句记、大悲咒、句记等等很多很多，你们大家可以随喜在自己去研究。Now, I also want to mention that we're talking about how Shifu encouraged other people to put forth their own literary efforts. And let me suggest that if you go here, look at this. This is 美国法界佛教总会台湾网站. This is the Taiwanese website for DRBA, and look what you find. This is a magazine, a newspaper, periodical that was put out in Taiwan, over 395 different issues. You see it starts way back in the 80s, called Source of Wisdom, 智慧之源. At the time, the editor was a young laywoman down in Kaohsiung whose name was Zhang Yongxue. Well, she went on to leave home and become Jinfu Shi, but the work was carried on here, 智慧之源. And I remember every one of our branch monasteries had a little holder with the latest 智慧之源, and you would open it up and fold it out, and it was a tabloid style, and it carried news of the Dharma realm and Shifu's commentaries and just wonderful source of proper Dharma. 我们台湾法总网站都有很多资料很多就是 法界佛教印经会哈，弥陀圣寺、法界圣寺、法界青年，还有智慧之眼，就是这个网站。智慧之眼是一种报纸，就每个月都会出，每月都会出。这是一位女居士在高雄，叫姓张，张永雪，她自己负责。还有董正之老居士，他的书法在这里做那个标题。他呢，以后这位女居士就出了家，就我们现在的金副师，他最早负责。我们打开看看有没有可以看到这是一种就变成我们网站的，不是那个原始的，就会缩小放大这个 tabloid style， 这是你们大家慢慢的可以阅读啊。So my point in sharing this is to say that 师父 encouraged others as well to bring forth all of their talents, sometimes written, sometimes spoken, whatever, sometimes sung. If you played guitar, you got encouraged to play guitar. But Master Hua carried this habit of supporting others' writing. For example, Master Empty Cloud, Xu Yin Lao Heshang, Shifu's Dharma mentor, in 1958 sent to America a copy of Zeng Ding Fozu Dao Ying and a letter to Shifu saying, I have written a little biography and a verse for all of the Chan patriarchs, and including 10 of the current, carrying it to the 20th century, current Chan masters. And please use your wisdom and look at this. Well, Shifu took this copy of the Fozu Daoying is called the how are we translating it? The Shadows of the Tao of the Buddhist lineage ancestors, patriarchs. Shifu took the book that Master Empty Cloud sent him and added another verse to that. And I'm going to once again share my screen and show you what that looks like. Here we go. Looking for, here we are. Here it is. So in 1958, 你们会读中文的人都会看，师父 received this from Master Empty Cloud, and he added a verse to Master Xu Yun's biographies. So what came of this was the 在称鼎佛祖道影, another book with the added verse. So Shifu used his skills at poetry to add a verse to each of the verses by Master Empty Cloud, eulogizing the patriarchs of the past. How wonderful is that? 在1958年，虚云老和尚就送一本书到美国，那么上人就是在香港到香港，这个师父还没到美国来，到美国是1962年，这是在1958年。这个叫在增顶佛祖道影，就是虚云老和尚他对于禅宗的历代祖师，他就写个寄送。那么上人收到了，他就再填一首变成在增顶佛祖道影就是历代祖师的这个师父用他的文笔、他的文字来增加，就跟虚云老和尚合作的一本。这个佛祖导引，现在你们大家可以在Buddhist Text Translation Society 这里都可以读，可以订。Here it is. So It's in 4 volumes. It's quite a lengthy book, but how wonderful that this is available. 大家可以在我们的网站都可以订，可以读。This is师父's 4-volume set of verses eulogizing the patriarchs of the past, adding to the work that Master Empty Cloud wrote. So how amazing is that? Okay, so the point is that all along, Shifu has been putting out his own work, but also supporting the work of others. And that spirit of the Bodhisattva path of 自利利他自度度他自教教他 benefiting self while benefiting others. Benefiting others is benefiting yourself. Taking others across while taking yourself across. And waking yourself up while waking others up. This is really the Bodhisattva path. 这就是菩萨道的精神。All right. Now, I have some stories that I want to share with everybody, things that I actually witnessed, how Shifu used his skill with language to teach the Dharma. And it sometimes took some very interesting turns. 师父怎么样用他的文笔来弘扬佛法，来教化众生？有的时候就我们也想不到他都会怎么做啊。Okay, let's see here. I need to find. Hold on. Gotta grab my text here. I queued it up, and it has run away. I'll find it. There we go. Hold on here. Be right with you. Don't go away, everybody. Okay, here we go. Don't you know, you get it all ready, and then, oops. Okay, we're ready. So this is a story that I actually saw myself. It was a cold night in Vancouver, BC, Gold Buddha Monastery, 1985. And I was there with Bhikshu Heng Sure. And we were preparing for an unusual event at Gold Buddha Monastery. We too were staffing the monastery in Chinatown. And on most nights, a small group of dedicated Cantonese-speaking laity came to our sutra lectures. They were maybe 10, 12, the most maybe 20, but day after day, regular as clockwork, these devout laymen and laywomen would come to prepare offerings for lunch for us. But then they would chant the ceremonies and listen to our lectures, noon and evening, twice a day. How sincere was this small group of regulars, you wonder? Well, Heng Chao, Marty Verhoeven, spoke only English. And I tried my best to translate his English into a kind of a broken Mandarin. And then a young volunteer would take the words that I spoke in Mandarin and translate them again into Cantonese. How patient were these lay people as they heard the same principles spoken in 3 languages. The pace of the lectures was just like a glacier, slow, so slow. But these handful of dedicated Buddhists, without complaining, let us 2 monks practice our craft and learn how to lecture. 上人他不但自己会用他的很奇妙的这个辩才无碍，乐说无碍辩，他会用这个辩才无碍，自己会写文字啊，他不但那个，而且呢，他会提拔其他人的文笔，其他人的所写的文章这个句诵啊，对联就会提拔这个英才年轻的这些人，其他人非佛教徒他都会提拔。有一天晚上在温哥华佛这个金佛寺，1985 1985年，我跟另外那个恒潮，现在叫 Marty，我们两个是在金佛寺那边，我们有一些从香港来的讲广东话的一些虔诚的居士，他们每天就说很虔诚的来供养出家人，然后参加我们这个仪式然后呢，因为师父吩咐2个法师每天要讲经，讲2次经，下午1次，晚上1次。这些居士呢，可能10几个人呢，他们不会表示疲倦无耐烦，他们都会参加听我们讲经。那么年轻的人不会讲什么经呢？可是我们都练习他们就在那儿听我们恒潮他会英语，他不会中文，所以他先讲英文，然后我用我这个洋人的磕磕巴巴的中国话把它翻译，然后呢，这些居士他们是讲广东话的，他们听不懂我所讲的有一位年轻的这个女居士，她说法西话然后就把我讲的中文再翻译广东话。这些居士他们听了3次一样的道理了，他们就很支持我们学习如何讲经。Now, on this particular evening, the Abbot of Gold Buddha, Master Xuan Hua, 师父上人, had planned something very special. He issued an invitation to Professor Ye Jiaying, a distinguished professor from the University of British Columbia. Professor Ye was a renowned scholar of classical Chinese poetry, and she was going to lecture on her specialty, which was the nature poet Tao Yuanming, Tao Qian. Professor Ye was a well-known authority, and instead of our usual sutra lecture, Professor Ye was going to give her lecture in the Buddha Hall. 那今天晚上，1985年，有个特别的一个法会，师父安排宣公上人就邀请叶嘉莹老居士在就是 UBC 这个 British Columbia 温哥华这个大学的非常有名的一个文学家，也是文学教授，就是 Professor 叶教授，请他到庙上来讲解他所研究的这个专门这个陶渊明这个诗人，他要介绍陶渊明所谓饮酒诗那么那天晚上大家有机会来，本来要听我们2个法师讲经，今天师父请叶教授来讲陶渊明饮酒诗。Our ceremony finished usually at 7:30, but it was 7 o'clock, and we could hear the noise outside the main door. And excuse me while I sneeze here. 阿弥陀佛。So we heard the noise outside the door, and the laity looked at each other, a little nervous, and wondered what's going on. So one of the Dharma protectors timidly opened the door, discovered outside the front door of Gold Buddha was a massive crowd. There were 200 people out there gathered, and they were citizens of Chinatown. They all pushed forward looking for seats close to the podium. We had scholars in cardigan sweaters with patches on their elbows, and we had Professor Ye's students. There were bus drivers. There was a policeman in uniform. There were fish sellers, businessmen in three-piece suits. There was a gang leader with tattoos, and grandmothers in embroidered Chinese dresses, all coming to hear their beloved Chinese culture. Wow, how wonderful. 本来我们讲法我们做那个晚课就做完课做到7点半，然后开始讲经。可是那天晚上是2月14号那天已经7点钟，我们听到大门外哇呼噜噜 很多声音，不知道怎么一回事。我们的一位居士他就下去打开了，哇，人群一大嘞，就很多几百个人都会来参加我们的特别的讲座。那么他们都就进来了，要坐那个讲台近一点的人都谁呢？就是温哥华唐人街的各界人士。有谁？就有一些学者还有叶教授的学生还有一些司机，还有个警察穿那个警察服装还有卖鱼的，隔壁我们有那个鱼店卖鱼海鲜店还有一些做生意的，他们穿这个西装还有一些这个青年棒的这个大那个舌头他刺纹他们都来了，就在那儿。还有一些老女居士穿那个旗袍的，这些年纪大的，他们都什么？这些人呢，都一样喜欢中国文化的精华诗就是中国诗。他们都来了听叶教授讲诗。Now, you should understand that Professor Ye's lectures are really hard to find because University of British Columbia, that's a long bus ride out to the edge of town. And to hear a scholar like Professor Ye, you had to enroll in the university. You couldn't just walk through the ivory tower to get to her classroom. But here she was tonight in the heart of Chinatown. Everybody had turned out to drink at the spring of Chinese poetry, the essence of Chinese culture. Now, China's love of language and its power to convey emotions deep and subtle has never diminished to this day. And wow, since the monastery's grand opening the year before, this was the largest crowd we had ever hosted. 那很不容易听到叶教授叶嘉莹老教授的这个讲座，这个 UBC University of British Columbia 不容易因为他偏到温哥华的西部，靠近大海，那么要坐公车呢好久而且呢你到了你不能就随便参加他的课程除非你就登记你就他接受你当学生，不然你就没办法听到了。可是呢，今天晚上宣公上人请叶教授到了唐人街的这个金佛寺来讲课。中国人呢特别喜欢文字，中文还有文字有表达心意，你的情感呢很多就很奇妙的文字。那么中国文化的精华就是中国诗诗词所以呢那么多人呢他们都一定要来。那么那天晚上呢，除了我们呢那个开光，就是前一年，除了那个之外呢，就是我们最大的一群人So we used 3 languages to introduce Professor Ye, and English and Mandarin and Cantonese. And Professor Ye paid her respects to Master Hua and expressed gratitude for being invited. She pointed out to the audience how rare it was to have a Buddhist monastery in the community, especially one that invited Buddhists and non-Buddhists alike to connect with Taoyuanming and Chinese culture. She emphasized to her many students who had come that they should carry poetry into the streets, she said, and beyond the walls of academia. She gestured to the standing room only crowd filling the monastery and said that perhaps most of the individuals there that night would find it hard to set foot in the halls of a prestigious university, but she was so grateful that everybody was welcome to a seat at Gold Buddha Monastery. 我们就用3种语言来介绍叶教授。他呢最初就对玄公上人表示感恩。他说很难得那个温哥华城市有一个真正的佛教的道场，尤其一个欢迎佛教徒非佛教徒一样能进来了听陶渊明的诗，还有参加中国文化的存在 他的继续的传统。叶教授就对他自己一群学生就那天来了，他说你们都应该把中国诗、中国文化离开这个大学的这个教室外边，就要到那个教室外 into the streets， 就弘扬中国文化，这是应该做的啊。他说你看今天晚上 standing room only， 就没地方坐满了人的金佛寺。他说我相信，他说很多人今天晚上难得到了UBC 来听我讲的课，可是呢，人人在金佛寺都受欢迎。So, during the lecture, Professor Ye brought Tao Yanming to life, and she explained why people loved his poetry after 18 centuries. She recited line after line of his drinking wine poems from memory, and then shared the stories surrounding the verses, and the audience was entranced. 2 hours, nobody moved. And then Professor Ye took questions from the audience, and at the end, everybody said, when are you going to do this again? We really want to come back. So Master Hua himself, a peerless Buddhist poet, sent a verse to Professor Ye, memorializing her visit to the monastery, and hinting, interestingly enough, at deeper causes and conditions, perhaps. And the verse, I'm going to share my screen now so you all can read it yourself. The verse goes like this. 叶嘉莹教授，万民诗意妙神通，千百年后有知音，嘉陵嫔妾生生在，古人胸怀今已生。嘉陵嫔妾是他的笔名 Kalavinka， 跟佛教非常有关系了这就是58年了，2月14。Did I say 16th? 我说16哈，是14。So, Shifu left a poem for Professor Ye. Yuanming's poems reflect wonderful spiritual prowess. Centuries later, his soulmates can still be found. The Kalavinka's bird's sweet sounds reverberate today. Those who made wishes so long ago find them fulfilled now. Her pen name is Kalavinka, written on February 14th. So we have now, we're in the process of publishing Professor Ye's lectures that she gave that night at Gold Buddha, and we'll let everyone know. That'll be available on Buddhist Text Translation Society when it's out. So this was a preface that I wrote. 我们现在准备把叶教授那天晚上所讲的这个陶渊明饮酒诗就翻译英文BTTS 大家就同心协力在那儿准备我们在 BTTS 那个网站它出版的时候大家都可以自己拿一份就可以读一读。All right, so that's one example of how 那就是 let me say it in English first. That's an example of how Master Hua vigorously supported the work of others as well. As they say, 立功立德立言 is the way you establish merit and virtue and words as the way to create a legacy, to be immortal, basically. And so Shifu truly believed in the power of language to propagate the Dharma. And that night, I must say, after our grand opening, that was the largest crowd that ever came in to Gold Buddha Monastery to hear Buddha Dharma, to get familiar with Gold Buddha, look around and see the bodhisattvas and see Guan Yin and see all the monks and nuns and the teacher. So this is truly 善巧方便, clever, wholesome, expedient means to bring people closer to the Dharma. 所以那个故事就代表上人他就不但自己用辩才无碍乐说无碍辩弘扬佛法，而且呢他就有其他人有这种 能力有这种功夫师父都会请他们来，给他们机会在佛教的道场里边流通他们的学问这也是善巧方便法那么那天晚上最大的一群人，他们是不是信佛不见得，可是他们就可以看到有佛像，有观音菩萨像，有出家人这个地方不错以后他们知道有金佛生死。 Okay, now I have another story that is a personal story, and this was one that I'm sure many people don't know about because it is a unique kind of experience, and I treasure this example of Master Hua's ability with language to teach and transform. And the story goes like this. In 1987, the monks and nuns came from China to city of 10,000 Buddhas for the Water, Land, and Air Soul Mass is what we're calling it. It was a historic event for Buddhism in the West. Certainly the first time there had been a major water, land, air event happening in the West. But more importantly, it was the bamboo curtain parted since 1949. That was the first time that a large delegation of monks and nuns and lay people had come from China to America. It was a wonderful event, just in so many ways, magical and groundbreaking and inspiring. And yet, there's very much a sense, I think, among some of the monks who came of how come this Xuanhua Shangren was so successful in the West, getting so many Western disciples, and so those feelings were kind of individual feelings. Some jealousy, maybe a little bit. I don't know, maybe. So people know, if you've been to the city of 10,000 Buddhas, that there's the Tathagata Monastery, Rulai Si. And just across the street, you cross the street, and there's what we call the annex. And the annexes, there's lots of little rooms. It's a dormitory, and used for a dormitory for the men's side. And there is a door, the closest one to Rulai Si, and right there is a little entryway, kind of a little vestibule, a little portico there, and there's a blackboard, it's a green board actually, in which we write schedules and notes to each other and news for the men's side community. And before the monks from China left, they were staying in that dormitory. Somebody had found a piece of chalk and had written on the green board, the blackboard, in Chinese, these words. And it went, 挺多房间，可惜无人. Kind of critical. What does it say? It says, so many rooms. How sad. So few people. Kind of critical, wouldn't you say? And somebody, sour grapes maybe, or too many rooms to please you, but not enough disciples. So something. Anyway, so I got upset. I thought, well, who is that? Who is expressing jealousy towards that? And what should I say in response? Of course, it was written in chalk on the board. So I went to find Shifu. I said, Shifu, somebody left a note on the blackboard in the men's dormitory before they left, and it said, 挺多房间，可惜无人. Shifu smiled and said, well, what did you write? I don't know, Shifu. I said, well, maybe if you came back, you could help us live here. Shifu said, no. You know what I would say? I said, Shifu, no. What would you say? He said, 很简单. Easy. You just write, 有佛. We have the Buddha. Done. Let me translate that. 这个是很有意思一个我亲自看到的这个师父用他的这个辩才无碍来 这个教化众生。1987年这个上海龙华寺这个北京那个第二个就是其他的道场派100多出家人还有居士到了美国来举办一个水陆空大法会，这是打破纪录的，这是历史上一个重要的一个事情，因为从1949年就没有那么多出家众就离开中国，就到美国来为佛教界。就师父就请这个明阳大和尚还有真禅大和尚玉佛寺就是上海龙华寺还有玉佛寺，他们2个大道场的出人了那个水陆空法会就结束之后，他们就出家众准备回去。这个我们万佛城谁去过就知道有这个如来寺你过一个马路就有一个宿舍我们叫 annex， 就是大慈悲院的 annex。 那个 annex 是南众出家人所住的，那么有一个小你进门了，有一个小房间，在那里有一个黑板，那个黑板你可以用粉笔，就是过去有粉笔，大家现在可能没有粉笔的这个什么，我们都用电子那么就他用粉笔就写到黑板上，他写几个字是不是有一点妒忌心？我也不嫉妒有可能，不知道。我看了我就自己知道他所写的好像有多少不满意不愉快他怎么写呢？他就写挺多房间，可惜无人。到底谁写的不知道，可是呢，意思就是说，哇，万佛城地方这么大，可是出家众那么少，是不是这个意思？我看这个，我说，这个不太好，我就去跟师父讲，我说，师父，这个，我们那个大慈悲院呢？有个黑板，就有法师写了几个字，是不是法师或者居士也不清楚。他写了，他说，师父就微笑。他们怎么写呢？我说，师父他写挺多房间，可惜无人，怎么样呢？师父就说，那你怎么写呢？我说，师父没有了，不知道，应该跟他说，我们慢慢的就师父这个僧团最大的在美国，他说不用啊，我们不争啊，你问我应该怎么答复？好师父，那师父如果你怎么答复呢？他说很简单，你说挺多房间，可惜无人，我就答复说有佛。那就够了，可以了，好了，有佛，万佛，阿弥陀佛。Okay, another story. I got a wonderful story about the grand opening of City of 10,000 Buddhas, and I'm going to let people read it. There it is right there. Okay, we'll open this up. There we are. Now, there was in 1979, let's see, was it 1976, 8? Yeah, 1979 was here it is right here, November 11th. 1979 was the grand opening of the City of 10,000 Buddhas. And it was an amazing experience to have so many guests from far and wide, including the group from Heng Sure in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur. And here, I'm gonna stop sharing so you can see me and then you can read, okay? How's that? Okay, so that way I can focus too. Now, the grand opening, a large number of laity came to celebrate, and they were led by the Venerable K. Sri Dhammananda法师. He was called the chief. He was the Sri Lankan monk whose mission brought him to Malaysia, where he propagated the Theravada Dharma. But many, many, many Chinese disciples gathered around the chief, the Venerable Dhammananda. He was a big, tall, wonderful speaker, and he was the best example of a left-home person, because he was very fair-minded, and he wrote many, many books in English, small pamphlets and digests about how to live in the modern world, and can Buddhism make you happy, and how to live a meaningful life in English. And they circulated far and wide. And his legacy is very much alive now at Brickfield's temple in Kuala Lumpur. And Venerable Dhammananda led the group from Kuala Lumpur. And when we traveled with Master Hua in 1978, the year previous, to KL and to all over, we traveled all over Malaysia. We went from Johor all the way up to Butterworth, and from Terengganu all the way to the east coast and to Malaysia. And everywhere Shifu went, he spoke the truth about Buddhist culture and Buddhist customs, and including the idea that you shouldn't burn paper money to ransom the souls of the departed, and you shouldn't burn paper airplanes and paper ships and paper cars. And not only that, but the custom of lighting 60 sticks of incense at once and offering them to the Buddha, and the smoke from a whole packet of incense turning the Buddha's face black. The Buddha images, originally gold-plated, would actually turn black. That this custom was not the way to increase merit and virtue. That the Buddhas were not happier with more incense smoke. That was superstition. In fact, one stick of incense was enough. That was a talk that Shifu gave in multiple places. I remember one night in Coast and Klang, Shifu gave that talk. And the next day the newspapers were full of angry opinion pieces saying, Master Shen Hua is attacking our culture, our Buddhist culture, and what will the incense sellers do once they're out of business? And a few monks spoke out in his defense, and one of them, of course, is Master K. Sri Dhammananda. He said, listen to this teacher. This teacher has wisdom. So we came back to America, and the energy from Malaysia was so positive and so strong that a delegation came from Heng Sure with the lay people, and K. Sri Dhammananda was the head. 就说1979年，1978年，师父到马来西亚第一次就各地从东西南北马来西亚各地Johor 到槟城 ，from Dingjalo 到马六甲。North, South, East, West， 我们都去，跟随上人就去。师父常常会讲一些应该说批评这些这种的一种迷信的思想，好比说你就那个地府银行，你就买那个纸钱，还有这个纸做的轮船、飞机、汽车，都希望对你的这个过去的这个六亲眷属他们如果到了地狱可以用你买，然后用火烧的这些东西，师父说这一概都是迷信，这就是破坏佛教的这个政治正见，应该这个把这些邪见呢改掉了甚至于他说最厉害就是居士买了一包香 这个香可能一包就60支纸香，然后就把那个纸这个拿掉了，一直在那儿烧，然后呢就到佛像前这个在空中温那个香包，把这个香烟就把佛像的面孔熏黑，本来铁金很庄严，然后呢那个香烟太多了，它就变黑色。他说这是毁谤三宝，这是破坏自己的功德，你自己不知道。他说他在 Coast and Clang 那个地方就这么说，大家不高兴。第二天报纸都登了这些意见，说他是断我们的财路了，佛教的应该保护自己的文字，保护自己的文化那么 K. Sri Damananda 就是 Brickfield's Temple 西兰那个大德高僧，他说你们应该听这个美国来的法师，他有真正的智慧，他说的都有道理，都对的所以就是有这么一个背景。好了，那么1979年11月万佛圣城就开光，有这个开光的仪式好了，那么温哥华我说那个吉隆坡的鹤鸣寺举办一个访问团，就到了美国来，好多居士，就他们都请这个达摩南陀法师做他们的团长。好了，那么他们都来了，准备就庆祝万佛圣城大开光。So they came to help City of 10,000 Buddhas open the light, our inauguration. Okay, here's the story. Let me bring it up again. Did I lose it? Come on, I gotta find it here. We had it up just a moment ago. There we are, right there. Okay, so Shifu wrote a verse to welcome them. The verse went, as your delegation arrives at the city of 10,000 Buddhas, dazzling light shines atop wonderful enlightenment mountain. Thus come ones from the 10 directions, also gather here. Sages in the 3 periods of time join in the rejoicing. Good and faithful men and women are inspired to make progress. Old and young alike receive the benefit of kindness. In this way, all in the Dharma realm will reach the other shore. May you quickly make the commitment to attain Bodhi. Wonderful verse. 师父怎么写呢？他们就是写一首偈颂来欢迎鹤鸣寺的访问团到了。他就说组团参礼万佛城，妙觉山头放光明，十方如来同聚会。三世因功各欢心，善男信女皆精进，老翁幼子尽沾恩，法界如是登彼岸，诸如速发菩提心。多么好，欢迎他们。So this is the welcome verse. Okay, what happened next? What happened next was the lay people got to the Buddha Hall, and I think it was the second day, and they looked around for incense to light, and somebody pulled out the same, what's it called? It's a collection of 60 sticks of incense. The same handful of incense lit the whole thing and turned Wanfo Dien into a smoky den, just like the monasteries in Malaysia that Shifu criticized. So not only one person, but multiple people pulled the incense out of their bags and lit it, and the smoke inside Wanfo Dien, shaking the incense at Guanyin Bodhisattva. Well, Shifu was unhappy. Shifu was unhappy about that. And he told them on the spot, he said, we are not going to carry over these old, traditional, superstitious customs to America. In this country, we are going to start fresh and replace the old views with proper views. None of this superstition. So 1 stick of incense per person, and that is it. He was really strong in his insistence on that. And guess what the lay people did? They said, we are going to go on strike. And they said, we're not going to take part in morning and evening chanting. We're coming to lunch, but we absolutely, resolutely hold on to our own Chinese Buddhist customs. Uh-oh. Boom. Trouble. 好了，师父欢迎这些居士，他们来了之后第一天还好，第二天还好，第二天晚上有一些居士，他们到了万佛殿里边去了，他们从他们的这个皮包拿出来一打这个60支的香包，然后呢就把它烧了，哇！这个腾云驾雾，这个云彩重重的在那儿，哇！好像要把观音菩萨千年观音菩萨的脸熏黑，他们在那儿这样的供养，认为这才有功德，这才有福报。师父看到这个习惯，他应该说不高兴，他就说我们中国传统这个方式呢，就不是个个都有政治正见，没有政治正见的传统习惯，我们不带到这个新的国家来。我们在这个国家要从政治正见开始你们每一个人一支香，我支持你们每一个人一支香，这样子，哇！那些居士大不高兴，他们说：我们罢工，我们不参加你们的仪式。我们可以吃饭，可是呢，我们不听你们讲的经什么的，就罢工。认识师父上人的人知道，师父才不受这种。他写了第二首寄颂，纪念吉隆坡参访团。Master Hua, people who know Shifu knows that wouldn't work. That won't do to say I'm going on strike. Shifu wrote another verse. Vast righteous energy pervades heaven and earth. Expand the measure of your worth and study to become sages. If you practice but fail to get results, assess what you are doing. Return the light and shine within. Do not search outside. Be like the old fool, never clever or crafty. Sweep away the dust in your mind and get rid of selfish guile. If you continually exhort yourself this way, before long, Buddhism will spread throughout the universe. 上人就写第二首寄颂，叮咛这些答复这些居士：浩然正气赛地天，大而化之学圣贤，心有不得求诸己，回光返照莫攀缘，养成老拙勿失巧，清扫心尘去思间。若能如此使遍彻，不久佛教满3000。It became quite a scene. Shifu was not one to be bullied in his own house. And these lay people were determined to maintain their old customs at any cost. So, what happened? The chief, Master K. Sri Dhammananda, said, "This teacher the more I see of him, the more impressed I am with his wisdom as he spreads the Dharma in the West. Since you lay people are so rude that you're not willing to follow his rules in his own house, I am leaving. I quit as your delegation head. I'm going back to Kuala Lumpur. I'm embarrassed by your behavior." And so he sat down right beside Shifu in front of the hall and said, "I support this teacher 100%. I'm leaving. I'm no longer willing to be your tuanzhang, the head of your delegation." So people at this point, both Shifu and Master Dhammananda were scowling at them and scolding them, essentially. So they apologized, and they tucked their tails between their legs and came back to the ceremonies and came back to listening to lectures. And 师父 wrote a third poem, this time for Master Dhammananda. 好了，那么那个时候那些居士罢工，达摩南多法师他说我愿意陪着你们出来了，可是呢你们到这个大德高僧弘扬佛法在美国的宣化上人到他的道场来，你们自己侮辱，你们自己就说就是自己应该对不起他呢，你们自己不知惭愧他说他是有智慧的法师，他每一句话都是有智慧，你们应该听他的，因为你们就不但不听，而且罢工，所以呢，我就离开这个团体，我自己回去吉隆坡我真的是不愿意陪着你们了。他就这样子讲得很直那么他坐在师父旁边，在万佛殿看的这个两位高僧就叮咛他们的那些居士才好像不好意思，就说好我们就不罢工了。师父呢，他就给达摩南多法师写一句偈颂，纪念达摩南多法师来成。Commemorating the visit of Venerable Dhammananda, attached to being southern or northern, or eastern or western, we confused living beings are simply too pitiful. The Buddha spoke Dharma to heal our illnesses, but some of these meditators have lost their way. By nurturing the mind ground, we transcend false thoughts. By cherishing our inherent nature, we guard the Mani gem. Then one day, in an instant, realization dawns, and we know that unity is our foundation. 师父怎么写呢？他就说：知南知北知东西，米中被人太可惜。我佛说法为一病，必被学禅反入期。心地栽培理妄念，信天涵养受牟尼。赫然贯通于一丹，方知团结是处计。写得这么好，可以看得出师父愿意把南传北传团结，他不愿意继续这种没有意思没有用的这种分门别类的习惯就万佛城开光，师父用这个机会就跟吉隆坡马来西亚这个南传的大代表达摩南陀法师，就用这个机会就大家同心协力合作把正法带到第21世纪。So on that day, with the representative of the Theravada tradition from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, K. Sri Dhammananda, with this lofty monk, there together, Shifu grabbed this opportunity to emphasize a theme that was constant in his teaching, which was that the North and the South, the Mahayana and the Theravada, need to unite together to bring Buddhism into the 20th and 21st century. That our time for separating and going our separate paths and fighting among ourselves inside the body of Buddhism was only going to weaken Buddhism in the eyes of the world. So I thought these three poems really represented how Shifu used his skill at poetry to accord with conditions and spread the Dharma, first in a welcome, then as a criticism, as a scolding, as a correction, and then as a support and an opportunity to demonstrate a deeper principle, which is the unity of the tradition. 所以我就用这三首偈颂来代表上人，他就会用诗词偈词，用这些方法，用他的文笔来先欢迎访问团，然后就叮咛他们，给他们改他们的邪见，然后呢再赞叹这个达摩南陀法师，同时用这个机会来代表就南传北传汇合这种更深更重要的道理。Okay, there we go. Our time, my goodness, I have so much to share. My time's running out. I thought the last thing I would like to share with everybody is take the opportunity. I'll tell you what I was going to do. We could actually, I have enough for a third round. Heng Sure, maybe you can book me again a couple months down the road. I was going to talk about the Song of Enlightenment preface. Didn't get to it today. We also have the Fa Jie Ji. We have the Yu Zhou Bai. We have the Song of Enlightenment preface, the Dharma Realm verse. We've got White Universe, couplets from Buddhist Lecture Hall in Hong Kong. I was going to talk about all those today, but we didn't have time. But there's one thing that I really do want to share at the end, which is Jin Shu Kong. This is Dharma Realm Buddhist University's alma mater, and a lot of Shifu's teaching energy is held there. So while you are looking at, here's a picture of Shifu's couplets teaching. Here we go. Here is Shifu at the blackboard with Yang Fusen, Lao Jiaoshou, Yang Xiaozun, correcting students' couplets. This is what it looks like when Shifu was teaching couplets, matching couplets. And here is an image of Shifu at the blackboard writing an essay. 这就是上人在黑板上用拿粉笔这样做，常常会看到他这样做。他一个字都不改，他就继续写。Oh, here he is. Okay, we've got one more job, and I would like to encourage everyone to join with me to sing, if you would. If it's possible. Are you at work? If you're at work, maybe you can sing quietly. If you're in your car, sing loudly. This is Jin Shu Kong. This is the alma mater, the song of Dharma Realm Buddhist University. And it's got real energy in it. The translation, we're still working on the translation. English readers can read the translation. We sing it in, I like it in Chinese. In Chinese, it's really got the stuff. 这是万佛上乘的法界佛教大学的校歌，金虚空，就有师父这个教化众生的精神在里边了。会唱的人跟着唱，不会唱的人你们赶快学唱，我们一起唱。金虚空，佛性充满了，遍法界有情云雨教。众生成佛，佛化同胞，万法唯心造，万法唯心造，团结一致，复兴圣教，祈祷守刚努力，勇猛向导。要打工出自私，知心最好，祈保持内洗涤尘埃，清净光明万佛妙教，万法唯心造，万法唯心造。团结一致，复兴圣 都手更努力，用梦想到，要个公出自私，知心最好，七宝之内洗涤尘埃，清净光明万佛妙教，万法唯心造，万法唯心造，万法唯心造，万法唯心造。Alrighty. Well, the time has come. I wish we had more time. I would love to continue. There's so much to explore with Shifu's verses, and so few people know about them. It's really our job to get them to spread them far and wide. 我们的时间快到了，还有很多没有分享，可能我们就邀请金融师另外给我机会，将来再过几个月吧，看看。那么很少有人知道宣公上人对于这个他的文笔，他的那个奇才啊，很奇妙啊，所以希望我们下一代就把这个工作就合符了，把它流通广泛。Okay, we need to transfer the merit, and COVID, the Omicron variant number 5, is laying lots of people low and filling hospitals. We Mahayana Buddhists have a power tool which we can use to recite and fill our hearts with light, and also those who hear it can also gain the benefit of Medicine Buddha's vows. And we just please transfer the merit of tonight's lecture. And those of you who are going to be continuing to recite Guanyin Bodhisattva's name and sutra and repentance and all, hope you have a vigorous week. And let's transfer merit now with Medicine Buddha's mantra. 我们就大家一起就利用药师观顶真言，就是药师琉璃光如来他的那个咒文来把这个疫情推翻。疫情第5Omicron 第5，现在就好厉害，很多人就被病倒了，所以我们就念药师佛，我们就引用药师佛的所发的愿来把自己的心充满光明，然后其他人听到了，他们都会有好处那个地方都会消毒了。好了，我们就用这个来回向功德。我们念3遍哈。好。Om Namo Bhagavate Sajaguru Vajurya Prabharajaya Tathagacaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tathagata Aisaje Aisaje Aisaja Sankate Swaha Om Namo Bhagavate Sajaguru Vajurya Prabharajaya Tathagacaya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tathagata Aisaje Aisaje Aisaja 哈哈。Duriya prabhara chahaya tagataya arahate samyak sambuddhaya tadyata aisaji aisaji aisaja sangate swaha. Now, before we leave, we can bow to the Buddha. 你们参加观音期的人，尽量的用功，一些念啊，阿弥陀佛。First bow. Second bow. Third bow. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Second bow. Okay, that'll do it for me. Heng Sure, do you have any announcements for everybody?
I have a question for you. First, 3 weeks from today, we celebrate Ulambana.
Oh,
Are you available to continue your talk?
For Ulambana, sure. Yes, that would be fine. Sure.
It'll be the 7th of August. Here you'll be the 8th.
Okay,
The
yeah.
8th.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, I have so much to talk about Ulambana. I wouldn't. Their Ulambana itself. It's interesting because Master Jinming from Maliujia, Qingyunting, Master Jinming from Malaysia, has a very important essay on correcting superstitions around Ulambana so that people don't think it's Guijie, right? It's Xiaoshun. And so I could talk about that in Ulambana and maybe make the number 3 lecture on Shifu's verses maybe next time after that or something.
Okay. That'd be great.
Okay.
You can leave now. I just want to make an announcement for
Okay.
Sunday.
All right, everybody. Amitofo.
Appreciate your lecture.
You bet. Amitofo. Bye-bye.
想跟大家稍微讲一下，就是刚刚我是请石法师3个礼拜以后再回来。就8月7号，我们是在庆祝盂兰盆法会，那他是同意回来再讲法，但是他说盂兰盆这个节它本身它有很多事情要谈的。所以大概谈不到上人的立功、立德、立言这件事情，那恐怕要再另外找一个时间。不过就是8月7号，他会和我们在讲法，应该会讲盂兰盆法会的事情。那我这边要谈的就是那个下礼拜天 ，so just make a quick announcement for next Sunday. Next Sunday we have two bishops going to share Dharma with us. Both are from Berkeley Monastery. I think people are familiar. Junchuan, Dhamma's Junchuan, Dhamma's Jingwei. They decide to share next Sunday. And I don't have their title yet because both of them at Buddha Rufang. They won't come back until like Wednesday. 那下礼拜天我们有2位比丘一起和大家开示，2位都是伯克莱圣寺的比丘，净传法师和净维法师，我想大家对他们不陌生。那他们2位决定说要一起，1个礼拜2个人一起谈，要分这个时间。 那他们的讲题我还没有，因为他们2位在过去10天来都在佛根地那边举办一个，应该也是打气啊，观音期，那要到礼拜3，相信礼拜3才会回来，所以到目前为止没有办法跟他联络上。那等回来以后确定他的讲题，再和大家宣布。那其他就是同样的 Zoom 连结都是一样的。那 YouTube 的连结我们以后再和大家分享。So the same Zoom link as usual. The YouTube link we will share this with everyone later. Okay. So thank everyone's participation, attending. 阿弥陀佛。谢谢大家的参与，聆听释法师的讲法。那我们今天到这边结束。阿弥陀佛。